Honest J. Nowak. Coming at you live. Alright. A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome to some more HGN Graphix. So today, this is the second part out of all 7 that's going to be happening for today, Friday the 24th. And what I got to pick out here is, well, yet another big time example of EA Sports taking sports and putting them together into big time graphical nonsense. But yet, this one stands out quite a bit from most. We're going to talk about NHL 20. This was at the time the latest NHL title that I was able to pick up last year and play for a little bit. Initially becoming a part of the emergency stockpile throughout the majority of this year. Which, if you haven't seen all 620 plus episodes in that series, then well, please do so now. Especially when you get down to it between episodes 260 and 290. Then you'd be able to see clips of NHL 20 where I basically play myself in this game. And when you get down to it, the way I look then versus the way I look now sure has changed quite a bit. Especially when you look up here. I could always look into whatever kind of support I can get here. But NHL 20 was at the time quite a unique piece of architectural logic. Quite a thing out there with EA Sports. I just don't necessarily get it. Why go buy the same thing every single year? Every time you play it, they make another, basically. No matter what kind of sports you play, they always seem to release a new game that you have to pay up $60 for, just to find out a brand new roster. That seems to be, at most, accurate to a real-life roster. You could just go ahead and tune into the television to find out what kind of roster out there is available. Whatever your favorite players are on, whatever team they're on, whatever country they're in, regardless of the sport, you could always use the television for it. Just pay up a little extra on cable. You don't pay $60 just to play a video game, pretty much. I myself, though, was able to pick up NHL 20 on a discount, being the latest release that had come around in the NHL series. But above all that, I will go ahead and say that it is actually a pretty good title for NHL fans out there. I'm not necessarily as much of an NHL fan as a lot of you might be, but I'd say that's only because I tend to be more of a fan of FIFA, triathletes, and a variety of other things. Even the Olympics. Though, of course, I have not actually gone ahead and watched the Tokyo Olympics because I see no point anymore. They're gonna do the Olympics because there's a pandemic out there? Nuh-uh, I don't want that anymore. When a pandemic's over, then maybe you can do it. But not while there is one. So, by any means, I will say that while there are a select few sports I might actually play, I did actually get the chance to play some others other than NHL. There's FIFA, there's Gran Turismo. There was also Gran Turismo. Maybe I'll have to talk about that later on, but NHL 20 being the latest NHL installment, it does truly have what you consider to be any kind of hockey fan's dream. But in a pinch, I will say, this particular entry in the series has quite the load of rosters. All sorts of teams taking place. The famous Toronto Maple Leafs are certainly right up there, giving you quite the impression. Even on the cover box, with a nice pink magenta background to really accent the blue and white outfits that the Maple Leafs house, it really is quite a beauty to look at. And when you really get down to it, the huge amounts of teams that you have to pick from are all the loads just impressive. I myself actually went ahead and played an entire season with the Carolina Hurricanes. The main significance was that, well, If you probably know Luke Skywalker, Michael Jackson, Nowak. My younger sibling has gone out to the state of Carolina to go for college. So that's pretty much just the main significance there. But a whole season with the Carolina Hurricanes, with all sorts of players out there, including Gibson, Shvetsakov, and plenty of others out there. Ones who may not be as popular, but yet I made do with whom I got out there. But I will go and point out that let's just say that this game is kind of an inner-outer for most things out there. It does give you a nice variety of controls to use, a bunch of things that happen to be more akin to real-life moves that you'd play in a hockey game on an ice rink. And believe it or not, there comes those moments sometimes where a group of players will fight head-to-head, brawl each other on the rink. And this game does the same exact thing. It capitalizes on that little anomaly that happens every now and then. A player and a rival battle together on the rink, and you have to have specific controls taking place. I unfortunately was never really able to win a fight over that on any point, on any occasion that happened, every time I went ahead and played a game. So, I guess that pretty much just sucks. Maybe I had to do it specifically in order to beat the other guy, but I could never do so, no matter how hard I tried. But yet I will say that the season I spent with the Carolina Hurricanes, in game, of course, not in real life, was pretty exhilarating, so to speak. I managed to get a lot of impressive things out there, plenty of endorsements, plenty of love from fans, managers, and fellow players in the team itself. And, well, there eventually came the time where a difficult decision was made by the in-game managers of my team to drop me out of the Hurricanes and have me relegated over to another team in Carolina called the Checkers. And that of which I ended up playing for the majority of the rest of the season, pretty much. I was able to get a lot of great footage on that game as well. Plenty of impressive things I managed to do out there. Passes, I managed to make plenty of really impressive shortcuts, and plenty of swings. And there have been times as well where I was even able to make some goals. That, of course, is the main objective, to get as much points as possible compared to the other team. And I certainly made sure not to disappoint. I was given letter grades in-game, of course, to relate to the different actions that were taking place, including team play, teamwork, moves, and likewise. And depending on how I would perform, I would be graded in certain ways. From A to F, of course. Similar to how school works. But overall, for an NHL title, the most recent NHL title, although we did get a brand new one some time ago called NHL 21, of course, because of this new season that we have. It certainly is quite a blast. I really hate to admit it, but EA Sports sure knew what they were doing. They sure knew how NHL was in real life and how they could capitalize on that and make their own successful title at a very low cost too. Well, my particular copy I got last year was pretty much on a discount, so it probably doesn't really count. But in any way that you look at it, it's still pretty fun to do. If you're an NHL fan, then well, I consider picking this one up. The roster may not be accurate as it is today, but for a 2020 edition roster of NHL fans across the world and NHL teams across the world, you could certainly get a good enjoyment out of it. There have even been special guest stars that appear up on the commentary. I tell you, aside from the typical commentary that you get, I tell you, this game's just loads of fun. Not necessarily all the way up for an EA title, but yet it does seem to do the work pretty well. For the time I played it, I consider it to be enjoyable, so maybe go pick up a copy for yourself if you haven't already. But yet, we're going to be going and moving on over to the different subjects that I have in course. Wind gaming, of course. Lots of gaming related subjects. If you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.